Started. My name is Anne-Marie. I am the proprietor of the page, New Day, New Way with Anne-Marie. My page encompasses several areas of my business. If you follow along, I am a personal development coach. I also operate a blog, and newly published author as of last week. I have two children's books live on Amazon and some more coming. I'm going to update all of that, but I want to tell everybody hello and welcome. If you're watching this on replay, I would love it if you take a moment and just put replay in the comments, even if you don't watch the whole thing. Just let me know that you were here. Some changes to the schedule are coming as of this week. As a matter of fact, I started to take the week off, but since this is a reschedule, I wanted to make sure I did it. The blog I did not write this week. We took the week off from the blog. So with the publishing of the books and the coaching launching and another book beginning in the works, my schedule has gotten really thick. So it's going to be impossible or next to impossible for me to do the blog post each week and the live each week as I have been doing. So rather than I don't like haphazard things. We're going to change up the schedule, and what I'd like to do at this point is the blog post will come every 2 weeks. If you follow the blog, please do. There's a lot of really good stuff there. The blog post will come up every 2 weeks, and of course I'll post them here and in the group, and there will be a once monthly live class. It's going to go from 30 minutes to now an hour, and I'm thinking it's going to be mid-month, second Friday, maybe third. I may change it from Friday if there's a better time for everybody, but I'll have that out, and I'll know something by Monday and have that posted. But a once a month live class for an hour gives you time to plan and me time to be prepared with a topic that we can discuss regarding personal development. And really get into, I'm actually hoping to really switch this out and I'd like to do a Zoom class. That way I can see who's here. We can have live time participation and questions and things like that. That'll be part of the free end of the personal coaching. It's going to be a free live class. I'm not going to charge for that at all. So that'll be kind of like this, only more in depth and a little more focused. And like I say, if I can arm wrestle Zoom to the ground, we'll get that done where I can actually see you and talk with you in real time. Okay, so we're going to get started with this week's topic of imposter syndrome. If you're not familiar with the term, I would bet money that you've experienced it at some point. Imposter syndrome is not when people think, oh, well, I don't go around pretending to be somebody else. Well, that's not what it is. Imposter syndrome affects people usually on an upswing. When you've come through a difficult time, maybe made a job change, or like me, I left the corporate world and went into business for myself. You started a new project. And I actually had this happen to me this week or last week when I published my first book. That's a lifelong dream, right? And you're happy and you're on cloud nine, and then imposter syndrome hits. And so what that means is you've made a step in the right direction. You're making progress toward a goal, and you're happy about the goal and you feel good about the goal. And then all of a sudden there's that little nagging thing that says, well, everybody else knows more than me, or I don't know if I really deserve to be here. I'm too young. I'm too old. I don't look the part. I'm a girl instead of a guy, or I'm a guy instead of a girl. I mean, there's a blue million things that'll come into your mind, and you sit back and go. Because I know with me, it was like, do you know how many children's books there are in publication at this time? And with coaching, it's more of when I'm talking to someone who's, for example, taking imposter syndrome to heart, and they're having a struggle, and they're like, I've taken this step forward, and now I'm a little scared, and now I feel like, it's I kind of equate it to that dream where I never had this dream, but so many people have told me they have, where you show up to take a test at school and you're completely naked. That's kind of what it feels like, and it's a little funny, but you sort of feel like the story of the emperor's new clothes. That's a good example because the emperor, of course, was naked. But you sort of feel like, and I'm used to being the new kid. I've been the new kid all of my life. Moved and moved and moved and moved as an adult, as a child. And so part of that is learning to assimilate and learning to fake it till you feel comfortable. You learn to not draw attention to yourself, to just sort of blend in. Um, and so stepping into a new crowd, that's your first instinct is like, don't pay too much attention to me. I might not qualify. That's imposter syndrome. You go through this. I know some really, really successful people in all areas of life who deal with this. People deal with it with regard to personal relationships, and personal relationships, those are really tricky because when you first meet someone, we've all been there. You meet someone that you kind of, get silly for. That person that when they walk into the room, you all of a sudden get happy, no matter what kind of day you've had. And so always at the start of a relationship, everyone's putting their best foot forward. Everybody's very considerate. They're choosing their words carefully. All of the things. And then, you move along and you get into that comfort zone with each other, right? And then it's like by the time someone tells you that, oh, I just love you, I think you're fantastic, I just, you're caring and you're sweet and you're loving and you always know what to say, and then all of a sudden that's when the imposter syndrome, it's like it comes around. For me it felt like a hood coming over my head and I couldn't breathe, and it's like that's when you start doing the disclaimers. I can tell you a funny story really quickly. My husband and I, when we were dating, he had me laughing so hard in the car. We weren't, and keep in mind, when I started dating my husband, neither one of us wanted to date anybody. We were not in the market to date anybody. We certainly didn't want to marry anybody. But we're in the car and he's telling some story about one of his friends, and I'm laughing so hard I can't see because, frankly, he's known some real characters in his time. One day I'll have to sit down and write that book, but I'm laughing really hard, and we're talking, and he said, I guess it was a disclaimer, and he says to me, I sometimes I can be an asshole. I was like, no kidding. He was in his early to mid 40s. I was in my late 30s, and I was like, well, okay, but I can also be a raving bitch. Everybody has that side. Everybody has that side that they don't want the other person to see right away. There you go. So that's a personal kind of, we laugh about it still today, because, then you're like, well, I told you, I warned you, and we talked about disclaimers before. That's part of that whole, you don't feel like you deserve to be there. You don't feel like you deserve for them to be saying these things to you, that you're not as great as somebody thinks you are, or you feel, not experienced enough, not qualified enough to be doing something, professionally, what have you. And all it is, it's part of your limiting beliefs. It's something that has become ingrained in your subconscious that you've adapted from outside sources. Pretty much everything that you deal with that causes you to withdraw and hold back or feel inferior in some way, you didn't generate that by yourself. It's something that, and I've quoted this before, and I know it's probably not the best movie to quote, but and you'll know the movie, but she says the bad stuff is easier to believe. It's Pretty Woman. And I don't know, I think every woman I know relates to that. In fact, most of my best friends are men, and most of them relate to that as well. It's always easier to believe something bad that someone tells you. If you've ever had someone just out of the blue criticize you, something that you're wearing, something that you said, the way that you said something, and you're kind of triggered probably by the way they said it, even if you know the criticism is correct. It's difficult to take. But you take that and adopt it, and it becomes one of those things that means you're less than. And so it's like I was saying, week before last, and you get you get some success. You start going and making progress with your self-talk, with your personal, with your limiting beliefs. You start making progress, and people start noticing changes in you. There's going to be those people that don't like that. They're intimidated by it, or they just don't get where you come off having any kind of, they liked you a whole lot better when you were a basket case, or when you were quiet, or when you didn't have any self-esteem. And then that inner voice comes and backs it up, whatever anybody might say or think, or, crappy comments online. But that inner voice is going, I don't know. I mean, I know you're happy, but do you really deserve to be here? Are you supposed to have this much confidence? I mean, who are you to be, you know, telling people this, or who are you to be teaching this, or who are you to, well, you're exactly who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Who were you before the world told you who you were supposed to be? I'm going to ask that question of everybody that ever works with me. I ask it to myself sometimes. Like I say, I had with the publishing of the book, I mean, it wasn't bad or anything. I knew what it was. I actually sat outside and talked to my husband. I was kind of laughing about it. I was like, yeah, I didn't see that coming. I thought I was past that. And it lasted a few minutes. I saw it for what it was. It didn't, there was a time it would have crippled me. You say, well, okay, I'm making this progress, Marie. I'm doing the things, I'm journaling, I'm doing the self-talk. I'm feeling so much better about things. I'm dealing with my life better. I am more confident in who I am. I'm okay with me. I love me now. And I know that I'm enough. Why is this still happening? Because it's not a one and done. Once the damage is done, it's an ongoing process to keep replacing the bad stuff with the good stuff until, and everybody's timeline is different, until the good stuff becomes the automatic. Until the good stuff is implanted to the point where it's your automatic. And so then you won't, like I had it happen. But it didn't affect me. It was like recognizing a stranger in the crowd is what it felt like. Someone I hadn't seen in a very long time. That's a good analogy. I had bullies a lot when I was young. And that's what it was kind of like. If I met up with a bully from school, I mean, I'm way past that. And it was just like, oh, hey, yeah, I know you. Keep walking, And that's all it was. And I posted, if you saw this on the page, I posted about an anxiety attack. Now, that didn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about here. I haven't had one of those in a really long time. And so I think that has more to do with the schedule I have placed on myself. And I've been under a lot of stress that I placed on myself. And I've been trying to keep a schedule that is ridiculous. So right at the point where I had actually taken a little bit of time off, even though I was, getting things done around the house and I was enjoying, some family time, that guilt kicks in. We'll talk about that later. We've talked about guilt before. Guilt is debilitating. You have to keep the bar high for yourself. You have to keep the bar high. I do it with my kids, I do it with my clients, I do it with my friends. You set the bar high. Because if you don't, how are you ever going to know how high the bar can go? So you set the bar high, but you want to be careful not to set it, where you it's like way out of, and that's sometimes what I do. And I'm sure some of you have done that as well. You expect a little more of yourself than you're really capable of doing for whatever reason. And that's setting up not a failure, but it's gonna set you up to be, frustrated and a little guilty. You're gonna, I have to be working every minute. I have to be doing something. No, you don't. There's no, hi Jenny. There's no, the schedule you keep is on you. If you have a job, you show up on time. The rest of your schedule's on you. There's no, I when I was young and first married, I thought, well, you have to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to have supper on the table by this time, and you have to do this, and And this is how this is done, and this is how I was raised. I was almost 30 before I realized I could do it my way. There's literally nobody policing that. And back then I still really cared what other people thought too, but and then by the time, my early 30s hit, it was like I had other moms going, "Wow, you really figured this out." And I'm thinking, "No, I haven't." It's trial and error, baby. That's the other thing about imposter syndrome is I always thought of it as, I put on this face for people, most people. Unless I want you to know something's wrong with me, you won't know anything's wrong with me. Self-defense mechanisms, right? That's what I thought imposter syndrome was until I really got into learning about, the personal development, all the topics and all the things. And, healing me has been a good teacher, but the imposter syndrome that I was speaking of today has to do with that. You start to make your progress. You've like, all right, like for an example, last year, a really good friend of mine took it upon himself to coach me, like to get my physicality back. Like I had a really bad back injury last April, and by summer, he was giving me some things to do, and I had accountability. I mean, he texted me every day. And I wasn't doing much. I mean, I really couldn't do much. I was having, it was all I could do to get through the day walking. But I started making progress. And I decided, okay, well, if I can do this and now my back is better, maybe I could lose some weight. And it became, over several months, something that I started doing a vlog. My vlog is on YouTube for my own accountability, but also for posterity. And I started to see progress. I lost 22 or 4 pounds, something like that. And then, when I didn't hit a goal one week, that was the last week I did the vlog based, on that topic. I didn't hit a goal. And I had tried really hard. And so at first it was like, well, I'll hit it next time. 3 days after the weigh-in and I was just writing down my progress as far as my back and my legs and whatever, imposter syndrome hit me and I got scared. I felt like I had let coach down. I had let me down. There was no way that I was ever going to be the size I want to be, and there was no way that my leg was ever going to get better. And who was I kidding? I was fooling myself, and all of that stuff played out in my head. This was last summer, late summer. And so the early fall was a bad time. I went through a bad time. But I never quit trying. I didn't, and that's when I really dug in my heels and went, okay, so this is what imposter syndrome feels like. I don't like it. Let's kick it. Nobody likes to feel bad. Nobody likes to feel hurt. Nobody likes the bad feelings, but we have to feel them. We have to call them by name. I think of it as calling them out on the carpet. Come on, come on. I know you're there. Just come on out. And acknowledge that. They want to be acknowledged, the feelings. Because pushing them down is just creating a bomb that's going to explode later. I did a reel on that today. It's just the surest way to have your entire personality explode on some poor, unsuspecting person like a spouse is to bottle it down, bottle it down, bottle it down, and don't communicate it. So you start to feel like, okay, I'm too happy, I'm making progress, I don't deserve to be here, I'm an imposter. Have the ridiculous conversation with yourself. And the reason I say ridiculous is because you feel stupid doing it. I did. I talk to myself as if I were a small child. Just like I did all those years when anxiety attacks would happen. I would talk to myself as if I was one of my children. Because if one of my children were in that kind of crisis emotionally, I wasn't going to stop until they were okay. And so at some point, for me to function, I had to love me enough to talk myself. And if I can do it for someone else, it stands to reason I can do it for me. The thing is, I always had the tools. I just didn't use them in my own life. So when you start to, change things in your life for the better, you're going to notice people around you, the loved ones, they're going to, and you'll notice improvements in them too. Everything that you're doing, if you're following this series, everything that you're doing that's helping you to have, more positive outlook, more productivity, better relationships, being able to communicate how you feel and being more positive about yourself, it's gonna improve your relationships. Just that right there will improve your relationships. Not gonna make it perfect, but it'll improve them. And so and you think, okay, things are going well, and then learn to see what it is, call it what it is, and if you have to talk to yourself in the car, talk to yourself in the car. It's your mind playing a trick on you. It's your mind telling you you're not safe, you don't belong here, come back, come back. Here's the irony of that. Once you've made the progress, you've stepped out of the little circle you were in, you've stepped out of that circle and into a new circle. The new circle is a zone where you're growing. And so when the imposter syndrome hits you, you're uncomfortable for several reasons. The most important reason and the biggest reason, and the one that's going to be a total turnoff for you, is I don't want to go back there. I don't want to step back into that circle that I just left. I don't want to go back there. Because I'm better now. I like this. I like feeling good. That circle's too small for me. I don't want to go back. Every time. That's why you keep pressing forward. That's why you keep trying. That's why even if you skip a day and you don't journal, or you don't do the self-talk, or you don't say an affirmation, start the next day. Start that night. Start where you are. Start where you are the four most important words I can tell you to have with yourself. Wherever you are. It's the same as if you are watching your diet for health or weight reasons, if you are trying to change certain things, how you deal with certain things in your life, and old habits come back until the new habits are fully in place. Just realize that. It's not a failure. Just see it for what it is and go, aha, I see you over there, a little habit. Beat it. Hit the bricks. It feels good to be in control. It feels good to be able to call it what it is from a perspective where you're not embroiled in. I think of it as you're not in the puddle of mud. You're just on the outside of it looking. You're not all embroiled in it. You've got a perspective once you start seeing the progress from this work that you're doing. So that's that. If you are watching this on replay, which you probably are, please let me know in the comments. If you're interested in talking to me about coaching, please hit me in the DM, or you can hit the linktree and book a call. Otherwise, just leave a comment there and I can get in touch with you. I would love it if for the last couple of minutes I'm going to tell you, I have posted about this on the page. I have access through my partnership with Entre Institute to a 3-day live event that goes on once a month. It's in Denver. It is the most transformational thing I have ever come across in 20-something years of pursuing this, and it changed my life. It's an awesome, awesome thing. Whether you want it, if you're interested in getting rid of some baggage and finding you and being at peace, and you'll just have to ask me. We'll have a private conversation. Peace out.